Hi, welcome to our week 8. We're looking at chapter 12, other punctuation. Yes, we've talked a lot about the different types of punctuation. We were talking about the colons and semicolons and commas in the last couple of weeks. So today we're going to talk about other types of punctuation. Learning objectives. Use periods to correctly punctuate statements, commands, indirect questions, polite requests, abbreviations, initials, and numericals. Use question marks and explain marks correctly. Use hyphens correctly to form compound words, words with prefixes, and compound numbers. Recognize acceptable applications for dashes and parentheses, and use correctly punctuate material set off by parentheses and dashes. Use double and single quotation marks properly and correctly place other punctuation marks in relation to quotation marks. Use italics, brackets, apostrophes, ampersands, and @ symbol and the number sign appropriately. Uses for the period. To punctuate statements, commands, and indirect questions. To punctuate polite requests. To punctuate abbreviations and initials. To punctuate statements. To punctuate statements, commands, and indirect questions. Use a period at the end of a statement, a command, or an indirect question. A statement makes an assertion. Example, the most successful employees in the workplace are passionate, open-minded, proactive, and bold. A command gives an order or makes a direct request. Example, give us your feedback about the training session by Friday. An indirect question is a question embedded within a statement. Example, analysts wonder what caused the latest drop in the company's stock price. If the last word in a sentence is an abbreviation that ends with a period, do not add an extra period to the end of the sentence. Example, our supervisor asked whether we would work until 8 p.m. To punctuate polite request, slide 1 of 2. Use a period, not a question mark, to punctuate a polite request, suggestion, or command. A polite request is a command or suggestion, paraphrased as a request. Such a request asks the reader to perform a special action instead of responding with a yes or no. Example of a polite request. Will you please give me your feedback about the training session by Friday? Example of a polite suggestion. May I suggest you create a professional Facebook page? Example of a polite command. Could you please refrain from texting during the meeting? A polite request can be rephrased so that is a statement or a command. Example of polite request, rephrased as a command. Please give us your feedback about the training session by Friday. Example of a polite request, rephrased as a statement. You should create a professional Facebook page. To punctuate abbreviations and initials. Abbreviations are shorthanded versions of words that can fall into various categories. Lowercase abbreviations. Upper and lowercase abbreviations. Uppercase abbreviations, geographic abbreviations. Punctuating lowercase abbreviations. Use periods after most abbreviations beginning with lowercase letters. In the following sentences, the internal periods are not followed by spaces. A.M., A dot, M dot, ante meridiem. P.M., P dot, M dot, post meridiem. I dot, E dot. That is. IG, EG, for example, E dot, G dot. For example, exceptions. The abbreviations MPH, miles per hour, MPG, miles per gallon, MPM, words per minute, RPM, rotations per minute, mm, millimeter, kg, kilogram, or written without periods. Punctuating upper and lowercase abbreviations. Use periods for most abbreviations containing capital and lowercase letters. Examples: doctor, DR, period, doctor. Number, NO, period, number. Mr., MR, period, Mr. Friday, FRI, Friday. Exceptions: academic degrees that are written using upper and lowercase letters, such as PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, and that's what Dr. Baker has. EDD, that is Doctor of Education. That's what Dr. Kaler has. Do not contain periods. Also, Dr. Amanda Contreras also has a PhD. And some of your other professors may have PhDs and EDDs or DBAs. Dr. Baker also has a DBA, which is a doctor in business administration. We also have other kinds of doctors as well, like MD is a doctor of medicine. We have OD, which is the osteopathic doctor. We have DO, which is the doctor of optometry. And we also have NDs, which is the doctor of naturopathy. Then we also have DNPs, which is doctor of nurse practitioner. So there's different kinds of doctorates, but they will all use these type of abbreviations. Punctuating lowercase abbreviations. Use all capital letters without periods or internal spaces for most uppercase abbreviations. Example: IBM, International Business Machines. UGA, University of Georgia. NPR, National Public Radio. MLB, Major League Baseball. ABC, American Broadcasting Company. AMC, American Multi-Cinema. Punctuating geographic abbreviations. Use all capital letters without periods or internal spaces for abbreviations of geographical areas, two-letter state abbreviations, and Canadian province abbreviations. Example: USA, United States of America. CA, California. QC, Quebec. DC, District of Columbia. NL, Newfoundland. Exception: in business writing, use periods when using abbreviation for United States as an adjective. Examples: U.S. Postal Service, U.S. currency. Punctuate initials. Use periods when initials identify a person's first and middle names. Note that a space follows each period. Examples: E.B. White, Ilwin Burks White. It was E.B. White, Ilwin Brooks White. Another example: Samuel L. Jackson, Samuel Leroy Jackson. Then we have J.P. Morgan, which is John Pierpont Morgan, which is J.P. Morgan. To punctuate numericals. For a monetary sum, comma, use a period, decimal point, to separate dollars from cents. Example: payments of $13.92 is written 13.92. And 28.67 would be $28, period, 67 were made from our petty cash fund. Use a period decimal point to mark a decimal in a period. Example: approximately 67.8% of eligible voters voted in Tuesday's election. Uses for the quotation mark: to punctuate direct questions, to punctuate questions added to statements, and to indicate doubt. Use a question mark at the end of a direct question. A direct question requires an answer. Examples: when will Uber finally go public? Question mark. Has the music industry been successful in shopping illegal file shares? To punctuate questions added to statements. Place a question mark after a question that is added to the end of a statement. Use a comma to separate the statement from the question. Examples: we will go a long way, don't we? He's the best one for the position, don't you think? We're adding question marks here. To indicate doubt. Use a quotation mark within a parentheses to indicate a degree of doubt about some aspect of a statement. Include a space between the opening parentheses and after the closing parentheses. If the text in parentheses appears at the end of a sentence, add a final period. Examples: Facebook finally went public, 2012, question mark. After years of speculation. Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook during his sophomore year at Harvard. In parentheses, 2004, question mark. We put it in the parentheses as well. Uses for exclamation mark. Use an exclamation mark after a period, phrase or clause, or sentence expressing strong emotion. Examples: whoa! Exclamation mark. Her voice is amazing! Exclamation mark. How incredible! Exclamation mark. Our sales increased almost 50% this quarter. What a work of art! Exclamation mark. Do not use exclamation marks after mild interjections such as oh and well. Examples: oh, I see what you mean. Or well, I guess you have to tell them about the error we found. Uses for the hyphen: to form compound words, to form words with prefixes, to form compound numbers, and to divide a word over 2 lines. To form compound words. To use hyphen to form compound nouns, verbs, and adjectives, the compound word in the following sentences are underlined. Adam Lambert, runner-up on American Idol, is now the lead singer for the rock band Queen. The compound noun in this sentence is runner-up. I didn't mean to second guess you during today's meeting. We also underline these. The compound verb in the sentence is second guess. We can see right here, there is a hyphen. Remember, some words could be optional, like nonprofit. I've seen it with a hyphen or without a hyphen. So some words could have either or, but these in particular have to have a hyphen. Emergency visits can be costly and time consuming. We have the hyphen there. The compound adjective with permanent hyphenation in the sentence is time consuming with a hyphen. Use a hyphen only when prefix is added to a word that starts with a capital letter and when the prefix is added to a year. Examples: some believe that Americanism has increased since the mid-2000s. Remember, Americanism is a part of America and it has to be capitalized because that's a proper noun. A pro-French, same thing with this, French, France, it needs to be capital. Pro-French march took place in New Caledonia when the French president Emmanuel Macron visited the island. When a prefix words with the same vowel begin with the root word, comma, a hyphen between the vowels is sometimes required. Examples: my coworkers, comma, who are also co-owners of a business, have rewritten the brochure about multiple facilities. We can see right here, we have co-owners and we have that hyphen there. It is a prefix meaning co, meaning together, so they're owners together. Even though a caretaker visits semi-weekly, she considers herself to be semi-dependent. Semi meaning somewhat, dependent, and semi-weekly would be somewhat weekly. To form words with prefixes. When writing family titles, hyphenate words that contain ex, great, or in-law. Do not hyphenate words that contain step, half, or grand. Examples: his ex hyphen wife still keeps in touch with his grandparents. Your mother hyphen in hyphen law looks just like her great hyphen aunt. To form compound numbers, use a hyphen in compound numbers between 21 and 29 when written in the word form. 20 90-1, 90-9. Kevin Arsham co-founded Instagram when he was just 27 years old, 20-7 years old. 53 applicants applied for the engagement manager position, 50-3. To divide a word over 2 lines. Use a hyphen when dividing a word over 2 lines. Because divided words can be confusing, use this technique sparingly. Example, we hope to get a good response to our questions by late tomorrow from Dr. Fred Wood, Chancellor of Contra Community College District. Uses for the dash. Do not confuse a hyphen with a dash. A dash is also called an im dash. A printed or desktop publishing dash generated material. A dash appears to be a solid line that's longer than a hyphen. A dash is sometimes used in place of a comma, semicolon, colon, or parentheses to show greater emphasis. A dash is created by typing 2 hyphens together. Do not add a space before, between, or after the hyphens. A dash helps to set off parenthetical elements or positives. Indicate an interruption or afterthought. Set off a summarizing statement and attribute a quotation. Set off parenthetical elements and positives. Use dashes or parentheses to set off parenthetical elements or positives that contain internal commas. Examples, many successful small companies, for example, Greeks Phone, Moe's Bows, Brego Labs, and Nannies for Noah, were founded by teenagers. Some successful small companies, for example, Me and the Bees, Lemonade, and Mr. Corey's Cookies, were founded by children even younger than 13. I've actually seen Me and the Bees at the health food store, and I'm sure you've seen it too. Very impressive, right? Moving right along, any parenthetical element can be placed between dashes instead of commas. Example, all employees, and that includes Ann Patton, must work overtime this weekend. To indicate an interruption or afterthought, use a dash to separate an interruption or abrupt change of thought or afterthought from the rest of the sentence. The following sentence is an example of an interruption of thought. We will rebook you on a different flight, dash, at no cost to you, dash, if your flight is canceled due to mechanical problems. The following sentence is example of abrupt change of thought. Let's meet Friday to discuss your idea, dash. No, comma, let's make it Thursday instead. Use a dash, not a colon, to separate an introductory list from the emphasizing statement. Examples, confidence, optimism, dash, or dash. These are traits of strong leader. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Z-Zone, dash. These are most popular social networking sites. I have not seen Q-Zone, but it sounds like it's popular to some people. Or would it be listed here? To attribute a quotation, place a dash between a quotation and its source. When using a dash this way, the attribution usually appears on a separate line, aligned at the right side after the quote. Example, your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work, and the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Dash Steve Jobs. Uses for parentheses. Uses for parentheses. To set off non-essential sentence elements. To show numericals, and enclosed enumerated items, punctuating around parentheses. To set off non-essential sentence elements. Non-essential sentence elements contain information that's not needed for a sentence to be complete. Non-essential sentence elements may be punctuated as follows. Commas. Make the lightest possible break in the normal flow of a sentence. Dashes. Emphasize the enclosed material. Parentheses. De-emphasize the enclosed material. Examples. Figure 17. Comma, which appears on page 9, comma, clearly illustrates process. Normal punctuation. Figure 17. Dash, which appears on page 9, dash, clearly illustrates the process. Dashes emphasize the enclosed material. Figure 17, which appears on page 9, clearly illustrates the process. Parentheses, D hyphen emphasize enclosed material. To set off non-essential sentence elements, explanations, references, and directions are often enclosed in parentheses. Example, our cafe's current hours, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., will be extended soon to 6 p.m. An apartment developer in San Francisco is building micro units, each with the average size of 359 square feet, 32.8877 square meters, with some as small as 160 square feet, 14.8654. To show numerical and enclosed enumerated items. In legal documents and contracts, numericals may appear in both word and figure form. Use parentheses to include the figures. Example, your home inspection comes with a warranty that is good for 90 days. When using numbers or letters to enumerate lists within sentences, enclose the numbers or letters in parentheses. Use letters for items that have no particular order. Use numbers for items that suggest a sequence. Example, the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, has offered several tips for getting through airport security more quickly, including, in parentheses, A, packing coats and jackets in a checked luggage, comma, parentheses B, wearing shoes that are easy to remove, and parentheses C, parentheses having boarding passes and IDs ready. Punctuating around parentheses. If the material enclosed by parentheses is embedded with another sentence, a quotation, a question mark, or exclamation mark may be used or normally is accepted. Example, our task force will be using Google Docs. Parentheses, have you tried it? Parentheses, for sharing all internal documents. If the material enclosed by parentheses is not embedded in another sentence, use whatever punctuation is required. Example, report writers must document all references. Parentheses, see Appendix A for guide to current documentation formats. Punctuating around parentheses. In sentences involving expressions within parentheses, a comma, semicolon, or colon would normally occupy the position occupied by second parentheses, is then placed around the parentheses. Example, when we get the project approved, quotation in parentheses, on March 3rd, parentheses, comma, we can begin installation. Uses for quotation marks. To enclose direct quotations, to enclose literary and artistic titles, and punctuating around quotation marks. To enclose direct quotations, use a double quotation mark to enclose the direct quotations. Do not use quotation marks unless the exact words of the writer or speaker are being repeated. Example, you can never be overdressed or overeducated, said Oscar Wilde. Direct quotation enclosed. Mark Zuckerberg said that all Facebook users should have control over how their information is used. Indirect quotation requires no quotation marks. Capitalize only the first word of a direct quotation. Example, writing is an act of faith. In quotation mark, and comma said E.B. White, comma, quotation mark, not a trick of grammar, quotation mark. To enclose direct quotations. Single quotation marks are used to enclose quoted passages cited within quoted passages. Example, Dolores Tomlin remarked, comma, parentheses, in business writing, I totally agree with Aristotle, comma, who said, comma, quote, a good style must first of all be clear, quotation mark, to enclose literary and artistic titles. Use quotation marks to enclose the titles of subdivisions of literary and artistic works, such as a magazine, newspaper articles, short stories, chapters of books, episodes of television shows, poems, lectures, paintings, sculptures, and songs. Examples. I loved Wall Street Journal article entitled, quotation, why does, quotation, everybody, quotation, now I put, quotation, everything, quotation, and quotation marks, quotation. And in the episode of The Office, we're going to do italics when we're listing the names of the journals, articles, newspapers. Those are all with italics, including the TV show The Office. So the episode of The Office titled quotation Diversity Day, quotation, the boss, comma, played by Steve Carell, comma, managed to offend everyone. Punctuating around quotation marks. Periods and commas are always placed before closing quotation marks, whether single or double. Example, Kathy Burt remarked, I am impressed that during our meeting, our CEO said, comma, quotation, I take full responsibility of the company's financial results, quotation mark. Semicolons and colons are always placed after closing quotation marks, period. Example, our contract stipulated that quotation mark, both parties must accept arbitration as binding, quotation, therefore the decision reached the arbitrators is final. Quotation marks and exclamation marks may be placed before or after closing quotation marks as determined by the form of the quotation. Example, Steve Staffanati said, quotation, have you heard my latest recording, question, quotation. Uses for italics to distinguish the titles, for short expressions, comma, words being defined, comma, and special words. To distinguish titles, italics are normally used for titles of books, magazines, pamphlets, newspaper, movies, television shows, music albums, plays, musicals, and other completed, published artistic works that contain subdivisions. Example, Nobody's Girl Friday, a book about how a studio area mid-1920s to late 1950s was the most important chapter for women in the film industry. It was favorably reviewed by Wall Street Journal. The title of the book, quote in the italics, Nobody's Girl Friday, and the title of the newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, are italicized. Short expressions, words being defined, and special words. Italicized jargon, slang, words used in special sense, such as a humor or irony, and words following, stamped, labeled, signed, and marked. Those are in hyphens. Example, Warren claimed he was too ill or too ill. That is going to be with hyphens. To come to work yesterday. The italicized are punctuated in the phrase to ill denotes irony. Quotation marks are used to enclose specific definitions or words and expressions. The word or expression being defined is italicized. Example, crowdfunding, italics, a practice of obtaining information or input into a task or project by enlisting the services of a large number of people, either paid or unpaid, typically via the internet. The term crowdsourcing is italicized. Words under discussion in the sentence and words used as nouns are italicized. Examples, do you think she should have used the phrase in the interest of justice in her message? Words under discussion or of the frequently misspelled words are in italics, separate, definitely, occurred, and accommodate. Words used as nouns. Uses for brackets. Within quotations, brackets are used by writers to enclose their own inserted remarks. Such remarks may be corrective, illustrative, or explanatory. Example, a natural mile reported by Chris is equal to 6,080 feet. And then here we have in the brackets 1,853.184 meters. I would also like to tell you, if you're going to be interviewing somebody and they may pronounce something wrong or say something wrong, you can always put it in the brackets what they really meant to say. That way your reader is like, not like, what? Then they know, oh, okay, this is what they meant to say, because you're the writer, but maybe you're interviewing somebody and they said something wrong, or they didn't explain it correctly, then you could put it in the brackets to help the reader know exactly what the point was getting across. Use brackets within quotations to enclose the word SIC, which means thus or so. Example, the company's recognition program wrote President Theodore Bailey. In quotations will have the greatest effect, SIC, on our immediate sales. Quotation. It uses for the apostrophe to form noun possessives, to form contractions, to take place of omitted letters or figures, to serve as a symbol for feet, to form noun possessives, to use apostrophe to make common proper nouns possessive. Do not use apostrophe to make plural nouns plural. Examples, today's college students face many challenges. The word today is followed by apostrophe and the letter S. No apostrophe is used with the plural word students. The company's attorneys are evaluating the merger agreement. The word companies is followed by apostrophe. Companies is a plural word showing possession, whereas the word attorneys is merely plural. To form contractions, use apostrophe to form contractions, which are the shortened forms of subject and verbs. Do not confuse contractions with pronouns. Examples, it's too early to determine whether we'll make a profit this year. It presents it is, and will represents we will. My boss doesn't understand that we're not happy with the new overtime rules. Doesn't would replace does not. Doesn't represents does not, and we're represents we are. How did you know who's going to take the pay cut? How represents how did, and who's represent who. To take the place of omitted letters or figures. Use apostrophe to take the place of omitted letters or figures. This is especially common when expressing a year. Examples, music, films, and fashion of the 70s are suddenly popular again. An apostrophe takes place of 19 in 1970. He stops by Dunkin' Donuts on his way to work in the morning. Apostrophe takes place of the missing J and Dunkin'. To serve as a symbol for feet. Use apostrophe as a symbol for feet in technical documents. Example, the conference room is 14 times 16, 16 feet by 16 feet. Use quotation marks as a symbol for inches. Example, many airlines require flight attendants to be 5, and then you have this apostrophe, and 6 apostrophe 3 tall. That's 5 feet and 6 feet 3 inches. Uses the ampersands. Ampersand is a symbol, and there it is, and it stands for conjunction and. I know this is the and sign, but it's also called the ampersand. But many of us just call it the and sign. It's a conjunction for and the symbol is seen here. Company names: Crabtree and Evelyn, AT&T, H&R Block. Publication titles: U.S. News and World Report, Food and Wine, Field and Stream. Abbreviations: PP&E, or P&L, or B&B. When ampersand appears in a series, use a comma before the ampersand only if the comma is part of the organization's official name. Example, Ernest ampersand Young is one of the big 4 accounting firms, along with Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and KPMG. Do not use the symbols and in place of an and in sentences. Incorrect usage. 2 former employees at Google and Facebook, Asher, Greg, and Van and Carla, are working to determine how the best employees can fulfillment immediate in the workplace. We could do it by using the italics. 2 former employees from Google, and we use italics, and Facebook, Asher and Craig, and italics, Varna and Cora, are working to determine how to best help employees find fulfillment and meaning in the workplace. And this and is italics. This is for the symbol. I know this is the at symbol because usually I say like, this is my email at Yahoo or Gmail. This symbol is known as the @ symbol or @ sign. Its primary purpose is part of the email address. The symbol is also used in accounting and invoicing to mean at the rate of. Examples: please send your resume to my email address, Ms. Smith at hightechsolutions.com. 25 toner cartridges at $15 equals $2.75. Do not use the @ symbol in place of @ in sentences. So don't say incorrect usage as please meet me for lunch at noon at the employee cafe. Correct usage would be please meet me for lunch at noon at the employee cafe. This is for the number sign. The symbol right here, people know it as like I think hashtag or pound sign. The symbol is known as the octathron. It is more commonly referred to as a number symbol, number sign, or a pound sign. It is often used in different ways by proofreaders to show where the inserts are spaced, musicians to indicate a sharp, computer programs to mark commands and comments. The number signs together are placed at the bottom of the press release to indicate to the end. Most of the symbol is used as hashtags in social media postings. Hashtag identify message about a specific topic, making search for posts at a topic easier. Examples: you'll need a number 2 pencil to complete this form. Use a hashtag ABC conference in social media posts you make during the association of the Business Communication Intercontinental Conference this year. Do not use a symbol in place of a number of sentences. So incorrect would be like Forbes magazine selected the United States Military Academy and West Point, New York as the number 1 public school in the country. And I will tell you, I see a lot of students write that way. Correct way would be Forbes magazine selected United States Military Academy and West Point, New York as the number 1 public school in the country. You see right here, Forbes is italicized. We see the commas between the city and the state. And then we see the NO for abbreviation number and then 1. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Good job.